James Jimmy Thompson had spent the last 3 years of his life living on the streets of San Francisco, a far cry from the decorated military career that once defined him. After serving 2 tours in Afghanistan as an Army Ranger, Jimmy returned home with physical scars and invisible wounds, PTSD and chronic pain, that made it nearly impossible for him to hold down a job or reintegrate into civilian life. His marriage fell apart. His savings dwindled, and eventually, he found himself sleeping under a tattered blanket near the city's bustling tech district. Every day was a battle just to survive. Jimmy relied on donations from passers-by and meals provided by local shelters. Despite his circumstances, he retained fragments of his old self, a disciplined routine, a sharp mind honed by years of tactical training, and an unshakable sense of honor. He often spent hours at the library, reading books about technology and entrepreneurship, fields he had always been curious about but never pursued. The irony wasn't lost on him. Surrounded by multi-million-dollar startups and sleek office buildings, he felt like a ghost haunting the edges of success he could never touch. One chilly November morning, while rummaging through a dumpster behind a cafe for discarded food, Jimmy stumbled upon something unusual, a leather briefcase stuffed with documents, a laptop, and a set of car keys. At first, he considered leaving it untouched. He wasn't a thief, but curiosity got the better of him. Inside the briefcase, he discovered business plans, financial reports, and what appeared to be a presentation labeled Pitch Deck for Venture Capital Funding. Among the papers was a driver's license belonging to someone named Alex Hartwell, CEO of a company called Nexus Tech. Jimmy recognized the name immediately. Nexus Tech was one of the hottest startups in Silicon Valley, known for developing cutting-edge AI software used in logistics and supply chain management. Their products were revolutionizing industries, and their valuation had skyrocketed over the past year. What Jimmy didn't know was that Alex Hartwell, the real CEO, had gone missing after a late-night networking event. Rumors swirled that he might have skipped town due to mounting pressure from investors, though no official statement had been released. Hesitant but intrigued, Jimmy decided to investigate further. He powered up the laptop using the charger tucked inside the briefcase, and was surprised when it booted without requiring a password. On the desktop, he found folders filled with meeting notes, investor contacts, and detailed instructions for upcoming presentations. One folder caught his eye. It contained scripts for speeches Alex was scheduled to give at various conferences and board meetings. The next day, Jimmy noticed a notification on the laptop, a calendar reminder for a high-stakes pitch meeting with venture capitalists later that afternoon. The location was listed as the headquarters of Nexus Tech. Panic gripped him. Should he return the briefcase, call the police, or do nothing? But then an idea sparked in his mind, an absurd, reckless plan born out of desperation and curiosity. If no one knew Alex was missing, maybe Jimmy could impersonate him long enough to figure out what to do next. After cleaning up as best he could at a public restroom, Jimmy donned the suit jacket he found in the briefcase, a size too small but passable, and headed to Nexus Tech's office. Security guards barely glanced at him as he walked in, assuming he belonged there. When he entered the conference room where the meeting was taking place, he was greeted by nods and handshakes from executives and investors who mistook him for Alex. Jimmy's heart raced as he took his seat at the head of the table. Glancing at the prepared slides on the screen, he realized they weren't overly technical. Most of the content focused on market trends and growth projections. Drawing on his military experience leading teams and making split-second decisions, Jimmy delivered the presentation with surprising confidence. He spoke passionately about innovation, resilience, and solving real-world problems, weaving in anecdotes from his own life without revealing too much. By the end of the hour, the room erupted in applause, and several investors approached him to congratulate him on his vision. Unbeknownst to Jimmy, this performance sealed his fate. Later that evening, news broke that Nexus Tech had secured $50 million in funding thanks to their dynamic and visionary leader. Social media buzzed with praise for Alex Hartwell, now hailed as a genius entrepreneur. Meanwhile, Jimmy sat alone in his makeshift shelter, staring at the laptop and wondering how he'd gotten himself into this mess, and whether he'd find a way out before anyone discovered the truth. The days following Jimmy's accidental ascension to the role of Nexus Tech CEO were a whirlwind of chaos, learning, and sheer improvisation. At first, He thought he could simply return the briefcase, confess his deception, and disappear back into obscurity. But as news of the successful funding round spread, the stakes grew exponentially higher. Investors began scheduling follow-up meetings, employees looked to him for guidance, and media outlets clamored for interviews with the prodigy behind Nexus Tech's meteoric rise. The weight of expectation pressed down on him, but instead of crumbling under it, Jimmy found himself rising to the challenge. To survive in this unfamiliar world, Jimmy relied heavily on skills honed during his time in the military: adaptability, strategic thinking, and an ability to lead by example. He spent countless hours poring over the documents in Alex Hartwell's laptop, teaching himself the basics of AI technology, supply chain logistics, and corporate finance. When questions arose that he couldn't answer, he deflected with vague statements about proprietary methodologies or redirected conversations toward broader industry trends. His natural charisma and authenticity won over many skeptics, even those who initially doubted his credentials. One of Jimmy's earliest challenges came when he was asked to address the entire Nexus Tech staff during an all-hands meeting. Standing on stage in front of hundreds of employees, he felt exposed and out of place, acutely aware that most of them earned more in a month than he had seen in years. Yet as he spoke, he channeled the same leadership principles that had guided him in combat: clarity of purpose, empathy, and a commitment to teamwork. He emphasized the importance of collaboration, innovation, and staying grounded despite rapid growth. To his surprise, the speech resonated deeply with the team, earning him a standing ovation. Behind the scenes, however, Jimmy faced mounting pressure to prove himself. Board members scrutinized every decision, demanding updates on product development timelines and revenue forecasts. Initially overwhelmed, Jimmy leaned on key members of the executive team, particularly Sarah Lynn, the company's brilliant Chief Technology Officer, CTO. Sarah quickly became both an ally and a mentor, recognizing Jimmy's potential even if she occasionally questioned his unconventional approach. Together, they devised strategies to streamline operations, improve customer satisfaction, and expand into new markets. As weeks turned into months, Jimmy's presence began transforming the culture at Nexus Tech. Unlike Alex Hartwell, who had reportedly been aloof and profit-driven, Jimmy prioritized employee well-being and ethical business practices. He implemented initiatives such as mental health support programs, diversity hiring goals, and partnerships with veteran organizations. These changes not only boosted morale, but also attracted top talent eager to work for a socially responsible company. Under Jimmy's leadership, Nexus Tech flourished, surpassing quarterly targets and solidifying its reputation as a leader in tech innovation. Despite these successes, Jimmy lived in constant fear of being exposed. Every phone call from an unknown number sent his heart racing, and every knock on his office door made him flinch. He avoided personal interactions outside of work, terrified that someone might recognize him from his days on the streets. Paranoia gnawed at him, especially when investigative journalists started digging into Alex Hartwell's background. One article speculated about Hartwell's sudden change in demeanor, noting how the once reclusive CEO had become unusually accessible and relatable overnight. Jimmy knew he couldn't keep up the charade forever. Desperate for advice, he confided in Sarah, revealing fragments of truth without disclosing his full identity. To his astonishment, she didn't react with anger or betrayal. Instead, she listened intently, her expression softening as he spoke. "You've done incredible things for this company," she said finally. "Maybe it doesn't matter who you were before. What matters is what you're doing now." Sarah's words gave Jimmy hope, but they also forced him to confront a difficult question. Could he continue leading Nexus Tech openly without hiding behind Alex Hartwell's name? The idea seemed impossible, yet the alternative, walking away, felt equally unthinkable. Over the next few weeks, Jimmy wrestled with this dilemma, weighing the risks against the opportunities. He realized that stepping forward would require courage unlike anything he'd ever shown before, not just for himself, but for the people who depended on him. In preparation for what lay ahead, Jimmy began laying groundwork to legitimize his position. He enrolled in online courses to deepen his understanding of business management and technology. He reached out to mentors in the tech community, seeking guidance on navigating complex corporate dynamics. And perhaps most importantly, he started documenting his journey, writing letters to himself about the lessons he'd learned and the values he wanted to uphold moving forward. By the time Nexus Tech announced plans to go public, a move that would thrust Jimmy further into the spotlight, he had made his decision. It was time to reveal the truth, no matter the consequences. With Sarah's support, he drafted a heartfelt statement explaining how he had stumbled into the role of CEO and detailing the steps he had taken to earn it legitimately. He included reflections on his past struggles, emphasizing the importance of second chances and resilience. On the day of the announcement, Jimmy stood before a packed auditorium of investors, employees, and reporters. As he read his statement aloud, his voice trembled with emotion, but his resolve never wavered. By the end, the room erupted in applause, with many attendees rising to their feet. While some critics dismiss the story as implausible, the majority embrace him as a symbol of redemption and possibility. For the first time in years, Jimmy felt truly seen, not as a homeless veteran or a fraudster, but as a man capable of greatness. The aftermath of Jimmy's revelation was a whirlwind of media attention, public discourse, and corporate maneuvering. Headlines blared across newspapers and digital platforms. Homeless veteran turned tech CEO shatters stereotypes. And from the streets to the boardroom, the unlikely rise of James Thompson. Talk shows invite him for interviews. TED Talks extended offers for speaking engagements, and nonprofits reached out seeking partnerships. Yet, amidst the chaos, Jimmy remained focused on one goal, ensuring that his improbable journey would leave a lasting impact, not just on Nexus Tech, but on society as a whole. In the weeks following his announcement, Jimmy faced both praise and skepticism. Some hailed him as a modern-day hero, proof that anyone could overcome adversity with determination and integrity. Others questioned whether his rise was sustainable, accusing him of riding a wave of sympathy rather than merit. Investors scrutinized Nexus Tech's performance more closely than ever, eager to see if the company could maintain its momentum under Jimmy's unconventional leadership. To their surprise, and perhaps even to his own, Nexus Tech not only weathered the storm but thrived. Under Jimmy's guidance, the company launched groundbreaking products, expanded into underserved markets, and became a beacon of ethical entrepreneurship. One of Jimmy's first major initiatives after coming clean was establishing the Veteran Innovation Fund, a nonprofit organization dedicated to providing resources, mentorship, and job opportunities to veterans transitioning to civilian life. Drawing from his own experiences, he understood the unique challenges faced by those returning from service, mental health struggles, employment barriers, and feelings of isolation. Through partnerships with tech companies, universities, and government agencies, the fund offered coding boot camps, apprenticeships, and seed money for veteran-led startups. Within months, hundreds of former service members found new purpose in the tech industry, many crediting Jimmy's program as life-changing. Jimmy also championed broader social causes, using Nexus Tech's platform to advocate for systemic change. He spearheaded campaigns to address homelessness, partnered with local governments and charities to develop affordable housing solutions powered by AI-driven resource allocation systems. These efforts earned him accolades from advocacy groups and cemented his reputation as a leader committed to giving back. Success isn't measured by profit alone, he often said during speeches. It's about lifting others up while you climb. At Nexus Tech, Jimmy continued to foster a culture of inclusivity and innovation. He introduced policies aimed at closing the gender gap in STEM fields, including paid parental leave, flexible work arrangements, and scholarships for women pursuing careers in technology. Internally, he encouraged open dialogue about mental health, sharing his own struggles with PTSD to reduce stigma. Employees responded enthusiastically, reporting higher job satisfaction and loyalty to the company. Morale soared, and productivity followed suit. Despite his growing fame, Jimmy never lost sight of his roots. He kept a small apartment near the neighborhood where he had once lived on the streets, refusing to move into luxury accommodations like many of his peers. On weekends, he volunteered at the same shelters that had supported him during his darkest days, serving meals and offering words of encouragement to those still fighting for survival. His humility endeared him to countless individuals, proving that success hadn't changed who he fundamentally was. As Nexus Tech prepared for its initial public offering, IPO, Jimmy made another bold decision, donating a significant portion of his shares to charitable causes. This act of generosity stunned Wall Street analysts, who viewed such moves as financially irresponsible. But Jimmy saw it differently. Money is a tool, he explained in an interview, and I want to use mine to build something greater than myself. The IPO was a resounding success, raising billions for the company and solidifying Nexus Tech's position as a global powerhouse. Meanwhile, Jimmy's donations fueled initiatives tackling everything from climate change to educational inequality. By the time Jimmy stepped down as CEO 5 years later, Nexus Tech had grown into a $50 billion enterprise with operations spanning 6 continents. His successor, Sarah Lin, took the reins with confidence, guided by the principles Jimmy had instilled in the company. In his farewell address, Jimmy reflected on his journey, from the battlefields of Afghanistan to the boardrooms of Silicon Valley, and expressed gratitude for the people who believed in him when he couldn't believe in himself. I didn't choose this path, he admitted, but I chose how to walk it. And I hope my story reminds you that no matter where you start, your future is yours to shape. After leaving Nexus Tech, Jimmy devoted himself full-time to philanthropy and activism. He wrote a memoir detailing his experiences, which became a bestseller and inspired millions worldwide. Universities awarded him honorary degrees, and cities named streets after him. Yet, despite the accolades, Jimmy remained grounded, always quick to remind others that his achievements were possible because of the support he received along the way. Today, Jimmy Thompson is remembered not just as the homeless veteran who accidentally became a tech CEO, but as a symbol of resilience, redemption, and the transformative power of second chances. His legacy lives on through the lives he touched, the institutions he built, and the belief that everyone deserves an opportunity to rewrite their story.